Welcome back to the Fear and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies, and just a little bit of beer.
So kill the lights, grab a cold one, and join us as we dive into this mad world we love.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
And I'm Jamie.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You miss me.
Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
And as a reminder to all listening, if you want to help us to continue growing as a podcast, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whichever streaming platform you use.
To stay up to date with us and all of our episodes, be sure to follow all of our socials. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fear and Beer Pod.
Feel free to reach out to us. We love to interact with you all.
Well, good thing Horror Nights decided to drop stuff on a Wednesday, knowing that we were going to record on Wednesday, because we got Deadpool and Wolverine tickets for Thursday. So, you know, they're always looking out for us in some way, shape, or form. And not only did they announce one thing, they just said, there you go, have an extra one. Buy one, get one sale at Halloween Horror Nights announcements today.
A twofer.
But I'm going to go on a whim and say that when you're hearing this, there's also something else announced that we are probably not going to discuss tonight because we're not time travelers. So if anything got announced on Thursday, you'll have to listen along next week to hear our thoughts and stuff on that, because we're just going with what we got right now. And thankfully, we actually have a decent amount of stuff, because there was the little UK press tour and they had some interesting slides. They were spoiler-y, but we're going to talk about it because it's not a leak. It's public information. It was at an actual event. So we're going to discuss what was presented on those slides. We don't know what was actually said. We don't have boots on the ground over there, but we'll also talk about and theorize what these 2 scare zones are going to be, which we got released today. So that's what we're going for. As far as drinks, I'm going with a crisp, warm strawberry White Claw because I found it on the floor.
Warm and strawberry? Oh my god, that's terrible. Yep. I actually have a beer tonight.
I found this one hanging out. I think it was the roommates. So my bad, but I'm taking it. It's probably Chris's. I feel like Chris drinks his strawberry White Claws, but that's what I got tonight. I think Jamie's got something special. I think she ran off to get it, but yeah, nothing too special for me on my end. It was just a I've run the well pretty dry over here, and I gotta make a little stop at the Half Barrel or ABC soon, because I'm just kind of pumping the brakes for a little bit to kind of get ready for Horror Nights, just because I know I'm about to put on a bunch of unnecessary weight drinking all the beer and eating all the fried food there. So I'm kind of taking it easy a little bit I'll ramp myself back up once we get closer to the event. But yeah, so Jamie, what did you have?
Well, it's nothing special because it is one of my favorites, but I did stop at ABC yesterday and picked a couple of them up. But I'm drinking the Black Widow Cider Classic from the original Sin. Here's a little can for those of you that are watching. And also, I might have to take a picture of this and post it on the story. One of my new Killer Clowns cups that I picked up at Spencer's, a little set. Perfect for the cider for the occasion. For the couple announcements we had today, I figured I had to get back on the beer aspect of this podcast that I do.
I don't have anything at the moment, but I could always grab a silver bullet in a second.
Yeah,
all right, a little
keep
something.
Keep that thing on me. So let's get into. I think we should go into the UK press event stuff first, because that was, I think, kind of came through the timelines a little first. So we can each kind of take a slide. I'll kick it off. I think we have the pictures in front of us, and there's 4 slides. One doesn't. Well, there was 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 6 or 7 slides. One was just the Universal Halloween Horror Nights Where Horror Lives, like, official logo that it looks like. So that one wasn't too telling. The other one that wasn't that telling was the logo for the Nightmare Fuel show. That one wasn't too telling. But let's get into the ones that do give us a little something. Now, there was a slide for Slaughter Cinema. Now, it presented to us something we already knew. It gave us the Heavy Metal Hell 3D, but it's giving us little teaser posters as well now. So we got the little skeleton guy with the pink and purple mohawk, and the David Bowie-esque paint on his face, but it's also giving us this different little poster of something we haven't seen, which looks like a big devil. It says all hell is breaking loose, and it has a little image of 3D glasses. So interesting, because it does give us that 3D color aesthetic, and it has obviously 3D in the name. So, they're kind of tipping their hat there. But the other part of this poster or slide, PowerPoint, whatever it was, gave us another official portion of the house, which I think more excited for than the heavy metal 3D is. Mardi Gras Murders. Just, it reminds me so much of like Terror Tram, and like New Year's Eve has a like New Year's Eve murder style movie that was just kind of very, very generic. But I like this. It's got an Eve, and then it shows the mask of the character that's going to be presumably in this house, and it's just like this weird leather facey jester man, and it seems like he's not really wearing a hat. His head is sort of sewn together to present that jester hat and the little bells that are on it. Big, wide, creepy mouth, green gums, got weird blue eyes, some earrings. So this alone, I'm excited for this premise. This is something that's right in Slaughter Cinema's wheelhouse. I'm excited to not only see this, but just really see the other, properties that they're going to present to us. So I guess before I dive into something that's a little bit deeper on here, I mean, we got 2 of them official so far. I know it's like a 1 and 2, but like, which one excites you a little bit more? Do you have any, is this Mardi Gras Murders look fun to you, or are we more in the heavy metal hell 3D camp?
It's tough. I think they both look super fun. I feel like the heavy metal hell 3D is right up my alley, but the jester guy, he just looks so cool. I just love his character design, and it's so funny. On the last episode, I brought up something, I think when we were talking about the swamp scare zone, but I brought up zombie gras, and it still pulled up on here, and I was like, huh, what a coincidence. Mardi Gras was still incorporated somehow in a little information that we got. But I think this looks very fun. It's tough to say if I do have a favorite between the two, because I feel like they're so different. It's hard for me to choose, but maybe the heavy
That's what
metal.
I like is I think they're all gonna just like Slaughter Cinema 1. You're gonna have so many different, distinct ideas that it is gonna be tough to narrow down a favorite. But that seems more like slashery movie.
Yeah.
If it were to be made into one, and that's like just up my alley.
I feel like the music in the room that they'll have for heavy metal hell is going to be really cool. And I feel like the music always adds a big aspect of it for me.
Yeah, I'm with Jamie on that one. I think I lean more towards the heavy metal because I just think it's something that, I've always kind of grown up around, and it was something that I feel more nostalgic for. But the Mardi Gras thing looks cool too. I mean, I'm not a huge clown guy. I've said it before. And obviously this guy looks kind of like a clown. Yeah, maybe he's a little too Jack for me. And I feel like they could have maybe done something a little bit more. But I mean, again, it's Mardi Gras Murders, not, jester murders. So it probably will include a lot more than just this one jester character. He'll be just like the main bad guy in this movie. But I feel like the heavy metal hell 3D, it feels more B movie than the other does. And I think that kind of lends itself to this house more so than just like standard 80s slasher movie.
Yeah.
Which I understand why it needs to be here, but I like the campier B movie if you're going to do this.
The poster gives me very like, I just had the movie, but like New Year's Evil and like Sorority House, like Slaughter Sorority House or whatever that was. Yeah. Yeah. So it reminds me of that poster. I think there's another one that was like on the tip of my tongue, but maybe I'll find it. But it's funny you mentioned music because they did make note in the presentation that the Mardi Gras Murders, it's going to feature music from Universal Orlando's Mardi Gras celebrations. So they're taking music from the Mardi Gras event.
That is cool.
Now, before we get into another tidbit that wasn't included in the poster, I do want to point out also on the very bottom of this Mardi Gras Murders poster, if you go all the way in, it says experience it in Horror Vision 3D. So I'm curious, is this whole house 3D? Is it an optional thing? Is it just going to be painted as such?
Excited. So stoked.
It's a good catch. I hope not. But I
don't like 3D, Seamus?
I'm not a big fan of 3D anything, to be honest with you. I've done a few movies here and there when they do them.
3D. The best 3D movie ever made.
My Bloody Valentine 3D.
I don't know. I find it maybe it's just me. I just find it kind of disorienting when it's in 3D. It's hard to focus on what's going on, and it's hard to really appreciate things, especially when you're doing it in a house. Now, granted, that may be just from doing other haunts in 3D, which people have tried to do before, but like obviously they don't have the same level of resources that Universal does. So Universal can be pulled off a little bit better. Plus, they probably have better glasses, and with the ride technology that they use, they probably have some pretty good experience with it. So they be the ones to be able to do it. So I'm hesitantly cautious of it. I'm sure it will turn out to be just fine, but it may not be my bag if it really is in 3D. Which that's a good catch, because I was gonna say something about the Metal movie being 3D. I didn't catch the bottom of the poster for the other one, so that does make sense.
Now it'd be funny. I mean, the last time they did a 3D house, I think, was Lunatic's Playground at 26. So I'd be curious. I like just looking at pictures of Lunatic's Playground.
Did you do that one?
I might have. That year was, I think, the final year that I wasn't living down here, so I only got to visit the event once. Gotcha. So I don't necessarily remember. Those nights are fairly blurry because of old age and drinking. But the pictures, it's very like, it reminds me of laser tag at like the roller skating rink. Like it just like the way it's painted and presented. I think it would be fun to go that route without maybe full on like, oh, here's your 3D glasses. Like, you can do that 3D style without being like, oh, wear these flimsy little Muppet Vision glasses. But I'd be down for it.
That's what we get too, is the Muppet Vision glasses.
Yeah.
The paper ones.
Funny enough too, in Lunatic's Playground, there were jester clowns. So I remember, they don't have to stretch too far from what they are doing with this little character in the Mardi Gras Murders versus what they already have done in the past. So I don't know. I know that the reception of 3D houses hasn't always been the greatest. So I'd be willing to try it out again. I don't think it really affects me too much either way. It doesn't push me in the camp of being like, no, don't do this. And it doesn't push me in the camp of being like, oh, now I'm more excited for this house. I think it's Slaughter Cinema. That's a gamble on such a like hot commodity. This is like a surefire bet, and if you're going to roll the dice of it being 3D, that's a little bit of a risky move. But I don't think that they would take an unnecessary risk like this on such a well-loved property without knowing that they could actually like nail it out of the park. So we'll see. Another note from the PowerPoint presentation it's not on that, but it was supposedly what was said. I was following a couple different Twitter feeds, and apparently there's a Christmas scene, a Christmas movie film as well. So there was no images shown of that. And much like other scare zones and like compilation houses, I do feel like how well these are received, maybe one will be pushed into a future house. That's kind of something that they hinted at as well over there. So, soak it up, cheer it up for the ones you want to see back, because they listen. Right. They definitely are listening. So that's all that I kind of pulled from the Slaughter Cinema. Does this excite you a little bit more now that we're kind of getting more, or did you want to go in like, we already had one? Do you just want to go in completely blind?
I mean, I don't mind about spoilers really. So I was really excited to see this stuff when I woke up this morning on Twitter and Instagram. I think it excites me more, honestly. I think it's nice that they only did 2. I mean, I think that's a good little amount, like just a little sprinkle of something, not too much, but still gives me something to work with and makes me have something to look forward to.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't think these are really spoilers to begin with anyways. I mean, yeah, it gives you a little bit more about what's going to be in the house, but it doesn't really give away what the story is or what the house looks like. So I'm not super concerned.
No, I
doesn't
don't.
bother me at all.
And that's why I like that they
there's so
go
many
ahead,
of
Nick,
them
sorry.
too. I say there's just so many of them too. Like you could tell me 6, and that's still barely over half. So like,
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I can't wait to go into this house and see all the variety that they have in this thing. I think it's going to be just ridiculous.
I feel like it would be different if they showed like maybe like room like kind of designs or like layout designs of the houses, but I think showing the characters is like fine. I feel like it doesn't ruin too much.
Yeah. And I would imagine going into the house on the Carrie drive-in screen, they're going to be showing previews of the movies anyways, which is always something that I really like, to utilize that queue line a little bit more than just like, just visual appearance, like just make it more of an atmosphere, extending the house outwards versus just being like, here's the exterior facade. It looks cool, but like other than that, that's all you got to stare at for the next hour while you're waiting there and hanging. Yeah. So Jamie, why don't you handle the little sweets slide that was presented to us over there across the pond?
So,
because that's some interesting stuff.
Right. So, funny enough, I was just saying how I'm glad that they kind of showed more character design and not really set design and layout. And for sweets, they sure enough kind of shown what looks like, Nick, your eyes are better than mine somehow, but I can't really read in depth any of the little writing that's on there, but it kind of looks like the
I can't
entrance to the factory, I want to say. Is that what you guys
I
would
say
call
that's
that?
I would say that's the exterior facade. If I had to guess.
Okay, that's a good guess. But we also get the character design for Taffy, which is kind of a bulbous looking man, and in the little photo shown, it kind of has him in like a little white coat, and you could see his little name tag that says Taffy. So was it said, I know you listened to the podcast. Did you listen to the podcast on Sweets, Nick?
Yes.
And did it mention that he was a worker there? Is that what it was? I'm sorry, I didn't listen to it.
Yeah,
I
he
didn't
was.
do my
So
research.
Major Sweets found this Taffy disheveled character underneath a bridge or something. It's like
Yes.
the,
Okay.
you gotta pay the bridge toll to get to the boys' hole.
You gotta pay the troll toll.
Well, whatever it is, the troll toll to get to
It's
the boys'
always
hole.
sunny.
Yeah, he was like a bridge worker or living under a bridge or something, but he ends up working for Major Sweets, and that's kind of like his go-to. I don't want to say henchman, but he definitely does the dirty work, and he looks like he's done a lot of dirty work.
He does look like he's done a lot of dirty work, and it looks like he has some candy stuck in his little face crevices too.
Little fat fuck.
It reminds me very much of the design of Treeks and Foons. Is that what that's called? I feel like I always get that name backwards. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of similar to that. I don't want to say goofy style looking, but kind of goofy style looking. But I feel like here, where is it? Let me pull it back up. I feel like he's going to be more of a prominent character in the house.
Yeah, I would say so.
Not just like a one-time character.
I think you'll see him around a lot of corners, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd say he's the one that gets his hands dirty.
This makes me a little bit more excited for Sweets too. And I thought about that just being a room. I didn't even think of that being the facade exterior. That makes much more sense.
I would think so, because I think this is rumored to be Fast and the Furious. So I could see this being just like printed up, not built out, but maybe they could build something and pop it in there. I don't know.
Oh, it looks so cool. It's giving Charlie and the Chocolate Factory a little bit.
It's giving
or
that
like
and
old
Silver Shamrock.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
But yeah, Ghirardelli. I could see the Ghirardelli sign for sure.
Yeah, but Sweets.
Yeah,
no, I like it. I like it though. It's exactly in my mind how I would picture
this Taffy guy is like the guy you would see at like the corner in the dark side of the bar that's just like losing all his money on Keno. Like that's just that guy. Like he's like, you can tell he smells bad.
Keno's fun.
He just looks like a bad smell.
He just looks like he smells.
He shits his pants like three times a month.
I'm kind of disappointed he's not pink though. as we
Yeah, I mean,
thought before.
I think he's a little bit.
He's saltwater taffy.
Yeah. He's got a little bit of like, a little bit of like different color, but I think they're gonna give him that pinkish color like on the cheeks, like he's gonna have that like rosy, blemished, like very flush face.
He is very like monster like, but I don't know why I expected him to be more of like a blob like creature, maybe.
Like more just not human.
Yeah.
He was like the gum from Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Never seen the movie, so I don't get the reference.
Never seen Sausage Party?
Oh no, I've never seen Sausage Party.
Seamus. Isn't it like he's like Stephen Hawking is the piece of gum?
Yeah, he's like super smart because he never dies. He's just like he observed humans so much more, and he like can never be defeated. He like has his like little wheelchair, and he does the like. My name is XO73244, blah, 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 but you can call me Gum.
So what you're saying is I need to watch this movie then, apparently.
The fact that you haven't seen Sausage Party is absolutely insane.
I can't believe
That's the most ridiculous, outrageous, like
don't let the kids watch it. A little inappropriate.
Movie.
Yeah, it's a
maybe cartoon, but
it's a cartoon movie, right?
Yeah.
It's a like hard R, like animated movie. Looks like a kids movie, but it's definitely super R rated.
Hi, kitty.
But
sorry, my cat's an asshole.
I heard
but
that.
Back to this taffy guy. I mean, I'm excited. He looks like every high school janitor ever. He looks like if
man, you're going on to everybody tonight.
I know,
if a fart was a person,
janitors,
this is what it would look
trolls
like.
under bridges,
like very like
smelly people at bars who play
This guy's had a rough go. But now that we see the character, is it kind of what I mean? We talked about it briefly last week. Is it sort of what you had envisioned? Because Jamie, you said it wasn't really, but Seamus, did you have a more like human picture of him, or were you in Jamie's?
I wasn't really. I honestly, I never given him any thought. I was more. It's more. I just want to see what the house is in general. Like it's obviously not going to just be Mr. Sweet and Taffy, and they'll be like the kids and that sort of thing. I kind of want to see how they lay the house out. This facade looks pretty cool. If that's what we're going with, I think we're pretty certain this is the facade of the house because it says Sweets on it. It looks like it's the beginning of the factory. So I'm just kind of more excited to see what they do with the whole layout and how they make the story fit than specifically just his character.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little generic, but I do like how they threw the details of the candy in his face in there. He kind of reminds me of like that old man mask that Papa had.
Yes.
And when I say Papa, I mean like my Nick and our grandfather. He had this old man mask that he wore for Halloween
every year.
It was horrifying. But it looked like something you robbed a bank with, not wore on Halloween. So that's what made it so scary.
I'm trying to
think it kind of reminds me of that.
I'm trying to think of what else this guy looks like, because it looks like a video game villain. Like I feel like this was like a Mortal Kombat villain, or like.
I think he looks like one of the characters from Left 4 Dead, the like bloaters.
Oh yes,
that might have been
the big guys that blow up.
That might have been.
I think that's maybe I'm saying bloaters because of the freaking.
No, but you're right. I think that's what they're called. Yeah.
I think that is. Yeah. Man, what a fun game.
Yeah, that reminds me of definitely of that. So. Yep, that's what we got for Sweets. Now, Seamus, do you want to talk a little bit about the images that are shown for the Torture Fair one? Because there's a decent amount, some costumes and a little set design and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's kind of just for the most part the costumes the characters are going to wear in it. Looks very Victorian era, maybe almost Vlad the Impaler-ish. It's got some of that Orthodox in it, which isn't necessarily just like one part of the world. It looks like they're kind of just do their own take on like, what do you call them? Renaissance fairs, but like messed up horror, universal versions of Renaissance fairs, not just, your traditional Renaissance fair where everybody dresses up like a knight or a king or whatever. So it looks like it's going to be pretty creepy as far as the costuming is concerned. They do give us at least a little bit of a mock-up of what looks like the king and queen's thrones that you see at every Ren fair ever, where like the king and queen sit on and do their thing. But this looks like it's them sitting with potentially some sort of torture device. It looks like one of those things. What do they call them? The Iron Maidens or whatever, where they put someone in it and they close them, and it's like spiky, and then they hammer it shut, basically impale you.
Scary.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't really give a whole lot away. So again, not really a spoiler, I don't think. It just kind of gives you a sneak peek at what it might look like or what the characters are going to look like. But I'm still pretty excited that it's going to do something unique with it, even though it's, kind of gives off backyard hunt a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't use that as a derogatory term, but it definitely feels like they've had to kind of like do a lot of their own original ideas with things they probably already have. But yeah, I mean, this looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about the rendering. If you think that if it feels too Ren fair, or if they're going to be able to do something different with it that won't feel just like going to, some sort of, costume party essentially.
Yeah, I really like it. God bless the two people that get cast as like Lord Farquaad and the evil queen from Cinderella with the big headdress or whatever. Because those costumes, they got to find a way to make those a little light. Because if you're out there wearing a royal robe and
that is a good point,
full on garment, that thing's gonna get a little toasty. It's gonna be ripe. But I'm really interested in this like executioner character who's got like, if you're into Mortal Kombat, kind of is giving me like the Kung Lao hat. He's got like that little that look, but he's got the big black cloak, and it looks like I can't tell if that's like, it looks like barbed wire like wrapped around his arms, and he's like bleeding and stuff like that. That's a pretty cool character. So I'm assuming that's going to be the right hand man of the Lord, who's going to be kind of on stage doing the executions. But I think from the rendering of the stage, I think it's safe to say this is in New York. So that'll be the stage where like Vamp was presenting the concert. So it's really cool. I like the two like little thrones up there with, like you were saying, that little Iron Maiden style torture device and the little flags, and it's very Ren Fair. You got the little wooden bucket with the the body sticking out of it. But again, maybe the lords, the king and queen or whatever, are just going to be sitting up there, and maybe they can find a way to sneak some fans in or something on them and cool them down while they're up on top.
That's what I was kind of thinking too. I was like, maybe they're just only going to be used for like stage shows and stuff like that versus like walking around in the zone.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd be surprised if they were like walking around amongst, the common people.
The peasants.
The peasants. But,
I'm really excited for the Scare Zone. I think this is the Scare Zone I'm most excited for, which I honestly didn't think at first, but the costume design just looks so cool. And if they're going to have it in New York, like you said, which it looks like from this rendering, I just think the lighting and the coloring, and I saw in some photos on Twitter today that I wanted to go to the parks earlier this week, but I did not make it. But they put some different colored like bulb lighting, like hanging in the streets and stuff like that, which looked kind of like red and yellow lighting that would match the robes and outfits that they had. So I just feel like it's gonna look real cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. This got me a little bit more excited for it because when they just said torture fair, you could have gone a couple different directions, and I'm glad that they are leaning like very hard into the direction we sort of wanted. That's my least favorite thing, is when they do the scare zones and they sort of like just tiptoe around what it is. Like, just go full in, like make it as ridiculous as it can be. So the last slide that shows us something, but not really a lot, is a slide for the museum deadly exhibits. It has a little almost flyer or something you would see at a museum that would like be in front of whatever you're looking at to kind of tell you what it is. But it just says the rotting stone and places of origin unknown. And then the example of it, or the little expert, is all in what looks like Spanish, I think it is.
Or Latin, maybe.
Or Latin. So I haven't been able to really translate that, but it does say it's the Museum of International Folklore on the bottom. So that's seemingly the museum. It's the National Museum. And it shows a picture of the rotting stone itself, which I don't know. It's kind of hard to actually read the image of what it is, but it's just like this gross looking.
I'm glad you said it because I couldn't really tell what it was either.
I'm a guessing that that's the rotting stone, and it looks like a rotting stone. It looks like I don't know how to describe it. It looks almost like bark.
Overgrown, maybe.
Yeah, it looks like a tree, like a knot in a tree, but it's also red and green and cut up and little balls on it. And then there's a little pamphlet that says "Opening soon, the Rotting Stone, Fall of 2024," which is the flyer that I think we've seen hanging outside of the museum itself already on the actual exterior facade of the entrance. So this one didn't really give us as much as the other slides, but still fun to see, I guess, what it actually is. And it does kind of start building the hype towards this house, because I do feel like with all the original announcements, when they did it all bang, 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 like I've kind of not necessarily forgotten about them, but we're like looking for the next one. And we have so much already that was kind of like, oh yeah, there is the museum house this year. Like I always forget about Triplets of Terror. Like I just forget about it. Like I forget that it was announced. Like so I'm excited to get into the museum and see what this is all about, because I mean, other than Triplets, like maybe as far as originals, this is like one of the least known that I can like pick out stuff that I can say like, oh, that's probably in there.
It's a good point.
Yeah, this one definitely more intriguing than anything we've seen so far.
Yeah,
because it feels different. It doesn't feel like same old, or you've seen this a bunch of times, or you've seen this in different places, or they're pulling a lot from something else. This actually feels like it's something super unique, which is going to be cool to see.
Yeah, because like Slaughter, like we get it. We know like it's all these different movies. Sweets, we already know the characters. We know the setting. We kind of get it. Triplets, like, okay, we get it. It's their birthday. They're murdering people. So it's like a bunch of murder scenes. The museum is like, what is going on in there? Because I do not know. So I'm excited to kind of get in there and see what that is all about. So that kind of wraps it up for the stuff that we got presented at the UK. I mean, we're just about a month away. So
man, I'm so excited. I can't believe it.
we're almost there. We're so
almost
close.
there. It's crazy. I officially bought my frequent fear pass.
Oh, whew, good thing you got it.
It's
before
been bought.
Before they sell out.
I was stressing. Thought I was going to throw up. I was like, if I check the dates right now and opening night is sold out, I'm going to be very upset. Please,
You just snuck in. You just snuck in.
All my friends have it. I have to go.
I simply have to. Let's get into the stuff that was announced today, because we actually got two, surprisingly enough, at weird times. So 9:33 is when we got that first drop for Duality of Fear. Now, this was on the list of, leaked scare zones that we didn't really want to talk about. So we had a name already, but now we have a little bit more of an idea. Not quite full pictures painted, but we have an idea. So the description of this is: as soon as you enter Halloween Horror Nights, you must choose a path. Choose thy path. Choose a path. No, a path. Choose thy fate. The visceral horror of sinister, or the unearthly terror of surreal, which are spelled super fun. All capitals and threes replacing the E's to represent 33 once you put them together. The image was really cool, I thought, that was dropped. It's got two different faces kind of screaming outwards away from each other. I'm not sure which is which. I would say surreal is probably the one on the right, with like the white face in the middle, but like the black forehead with the red veins running through it. That might be a little bit more surreal. And the sinister might be on the left, because it looks more like demonic, with like the black eye shade, the orange eyes. It looks like they remind me of porcelain masks, like little porcelain dolls.
Yeah, or like the tragedy and comedy masks too.
Yeah, yes,
from classic theater.
So a couple things from this. I think these are the icons. I think this is like the event icon, Sinisters and Surreal, because there was those rumors, one of those rumors a long time ago of having like two icons that like kind of go hand in hand, but not really. It kind of falls in line to what we had heard previously. This is kind of, I'm assuming, up front. So this is my idea. This is how as soon as I heard this announced, this is kind of where my head went, was hopefully they expand this a little more than where Dr. Oddfellows was, right? Where you have Dr. Oddfellows stuff on the right. I would hope that they would extend both sides and have one on either side. So when you get to that fork, there's like a scare zone on either side, or at least a path.
Mm-hmm. I think with minions like being open for a little while now, I think they're going to put something back in there now. Back in
I
that,
don't
like straight through walkway.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll go all the way up, but even like just at that fork, if you expand it to like
where the Bake My Day is, to like have it like go to right there, kind
yeah,
of
like you could end it
before the bake
before
shop.
minions and stuff. Like you could have it, yeah, you could have it end kind of like right where that like the entrance for the house is. You could have it end before that part.
Yeah,
So it just
yeah,
kind of
true.
reaches up to that little part of the street, and then you could extend over to where Dr. Oddfellows ended last year, which was pretty much right before Dark Zodiac. You don't need anything like up in that like front part like we had before. You could have it just kind of enter and you go one way or the other. So that's kind of what I had in my mind. Does that line up to what you guys were thinking originally, or did you even think of the two pathways, or do you think it's going to be just kind of one and you're mix matched and there is really no meaning behind the choose a path?
No, there'll be. I mean, I don't know if there'll be like any incredible meaning towards it, but I have a feeling that whatever you get, depending on which direction you go, will kind of follow the theme of whatever scare zone it is. So if you take the right and go down through Hollywood, if it's sinister or if it's surreal, and then the other way will be that way. And I think what they're going to do is maybe they'll expand even that scare zone a little bit towards the entrance of the park. So as you come in, like where the taxi cab is usually, maybe they'll expand it a little bit so that as you come in there, you have the big
archways
thing. But I was there this weekend. I don't remember looking for the archway. Was the archway up yet? I don't think it is.
I don't think so. I
So
haven't seen
maybe
that it's up yet.
So maybe the archway is closer to the entrance, and you kind of have it split off where Oddfellow was, last year, and where they traditionally put that front scare zone there on the left, and you can kind of pick and choose depending on which direction you go in. They'll give you a little bit more. I don't think it'll be a ton, but they'll play on that idea that they haven't done before, where everybody kind of comes in, and generally people go straight and they go down through New York and around and come back out through Hollywood and leave that way. People tend to pick and choose one way versus the other, and I think maybe they're just giving you more reason to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad that with this like expert and the image, we have a little bit more to go off of now. Because when I saw Duality Fears, like is it fear? Like is fear back? Like that seems a little out there. Now there's some sort of meaning behind it, so I'm still interested. I'm always skeptical of those entrance zones because they just really have sort of fallen flat the last couple of years. So I definitely am going into it with minimal expectations because I don't want to get let down by having, again, another just like throwaway zone of nothingness. But I can see this hopefully reclaiming the fact that 5 zones means 5 zones, not 4 zones and like an entrance area. So I'm hoping it's like distinct characters. One way leads to one way, one leads to another way, and it's sort of a multi-zone kind of thing.
I'm really hoping, but like you said, I kind of don't really have my hopes too high for it, unfortunately. I'm kind of worried that it's going to be these two characters, and they're going to kind of be leading you in to like Horror Nights and kind of doing more of like a, lead this way or lead this way. And I feel like it's not going to really lead to anything. I feel like it's just going to, I don't think they're going to, as much as I'd like it to, I don't think they're going to expand it. I think it's just going to be when you enter how far that they had it when they had Oddfellows this year, kind of that like opening part through the archway. And then I think in that little kind of like crevicey cul-de-sac area where the store is, and then the ride time signs and stuff like that right there.
Where his like little thing was.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna kind of just lead out right there. I don't know. I feel like doing two whole varying paths and having two different setups like in each thing, I feel like is a lot to have right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty like I think you just have distinct characters in one side and characters in the other. I think the aesthetic's going to be the same. Other than that, I don't think you need like ridiculous, crazy props and setups for either side. But it's just like it's just one zone. Everyone's in whatever costumes. If you're in this costume, you go on the right side. If you're in this costume, you go on the left side, and just kind of stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So, but do you think these are icons? Do you think this is like the I guess the icon of the event? Because we've had that lately. I mean, we had Oddfellow up there, we had Pumpkin Lord up there, and now with this, it seems like they're icon is a weird like term in HHN because it's always kind of sort of differed, right? Like it's always like, oh, the icons. Like, well, the icon era is kind of done. You know,
it's kind of a touching term now because a lot of people get angry when you call certain characters, especially over the last couple of years, icons because they're not really icons. But then again, like you just said, they don't really do icons like that anymore.
Yeah,
and they kind of consider a lot of their big characters icons in a way. So, are they the themed characters for this season? Probably, or something along those lines. Kind of like how Oddfellow was last year. Like he wasn't called an icon, but in reality, he kind of was the event's icon. So I could see that happening.
Yeah, I think it's safe. I'm pretty confident in saying that these two will be the icons of the year because as much they're as iconic right now, or if you're up front and you're kind of like the lead on it, that's like Dr. Oddfellow. At this time, it's not like they used Dr. Oddfellow in ads last year to be like, come on down to my Halloween Horror Nights, I'm taking over. No, they just put out the logo, like Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins, and we're like, oh yeah, it's Dr. Oddfellow, and he has a scare zone, so like, I guess 2 and 2 makes 4.
And Horror Nights did make that tweet like a week or two ago. It was like, oh, sinister, surreal, what are you choosing? And they spelled it just like this. So it was relating to this. And I'd commented on it too. I was like, sinister with the with the Bagul, like little gif. But I mean, I thought it was maybe gonna be relating to the Blumhouse scare zone, but nope, fooled me. So maybe it does have more in-depth meaning to it, because I honestly didn't think this would be the icons or like the event leads for this year, maybe showcasing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Oddfellow
the more you
built
say it,
in...
the more you say it, you're really reeling me in here, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Oddfellow had built-in lore last year.
That's
a little
true.
different.
It's tough to bring in two all new
obviously
characters.
he didn't have a ton of story, but there was mention of him that he there was something there. So this one, it's kind of like brand new. So are they full fleshed out new characters? Probably, maybe. I don't know.
Hopefully,
but I think that they're probably going to be that overarching theme this year, where it's like half of the event is surreal, quote unquote, and half of the event is sinister.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with that, but I
cool
like
concept, though. I do like it too. I do.
Yeah, I don't hate the concept.
No, it's interesting, and it's got me more intrigued than most of the other, recent scare zones that are up front. I was excited for the Dr. Oddfellow one. I was, but then it was just like, nah, like it wasn't really much. There was not a lot going on. There wasn't a lot of set pieces. It was just kind of, you didn't really have to go there. You want to go see Dr. Oddfellow, but other than that, it was really, take it or leave it. But, so the next scare zone, Jamie, do you want to handle the next one? Because this one actually, I think, bleeds right into the other one that was announced. So I think that's maybe why they put them back to back on the same day, because they do tie into each other.
Demon Queens. And in the little photo, it looks like what has a sort of maybe Medusa style queen. It looks like the one to the far left maybe has like the snakes on her head kind of deal. To the right, it looks like it could either be ice maybe coming out, an ice demon queen, or maybe like an earth demon queen. The middle one I feel like kind of looks like a Grim Reaper style, but then what I'm trying to figure out in the background, they do kind of have that little symbol behind them, so I wonder if that's going to tie into anything with this scare zone or any of the other scare zone. And then the one to the far right, again, really tough to tell with these photos, but
It's a
for the
snail.
little, that's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to sound silly. Very, very snail-like. But the excerpt is, get caught in an otherworldly hellscape ripped from the darkest corners of your mind, where 4 merciless queens loyal to surreal rule. So this is going to be, I assume, tying into that sinister and surreal scare zone as well, in the Duality of Fear scare zone, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's why I think maybe this will probably be in Hollywood. You lead right from one into the surreal, and then the sinister is on. Maybe that's part of either
Torture
the
Fair?
New York zone or Torture Fair, or if they like put a little something before, because it would seem weird to like you choose 2 paths and one leads you directly into something, and then the other one's just kind of like not there. It's like you have to go all the way down.
Right.
But interesting I'm curious because the excerpt says, was it 4 merciless queens, but then there's 5 in the picture. So is the one in the middle, like, is that surreal?
Could be.
We don't
That's a
really
good
know
point.
exactly what they look like full body. We just have their heads, the sides of their heads, and we don't necessarily know which one's which, but I would think that the middle one is more prominent. And like you said, it's right on that little logo. So maybe that's surreal, and the other 4 are the 4 merciless queens that are loyal.
That would make sense, actually. Hi, kitty. No, that would make sense, though. I didn't realize that, because looking at the photo of who you said, well, no, because you were saying that you thought maybe surreal was the one with the white, like, porcelain face.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can't really tell from this photo, but maybe, I don't know, maybe we could be wrong. We'll see. But I think that would make sense to what you're saying. That she is leading her queens. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm here
that's
for
probably
it.
what it is. I don't think that they missed that big of a glaring mistake. Like, oh, 4 characters, 5 in the image. Like, I think it's pretty self-explanatory that one of them is supposed to be surreal.
Yeah. This one's given me a lot of like, and even with the last one, the backgrounds are very like, I don't want to say like astrology, but it's like very mystical.
Zodiac.
It's very dark zodiac. It's the purples, it's the neon, it's the little star backgrounds. Like,
I was
I
thinking
think
that
it's
too.
maybe they're trying to take another swing at that style of vibe in New York or in Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood, to be like, oh yeah, we can actually do it, because that was one of my bigger letdowns of last year, because I was very excited for that and it just kind of fell flat.
Man, those costumes were cool though.
It could be somewhat dreamlike, surreal, like literally it's something something surreal, it's dreamlike, or it's not based in reality, so it's going to be something a little bit more ethereal or esoteric.
Yeah, but that's that for that. So we got 2 scare zones, and like we said at the top of this episode, we're recording on a Wednesday night. I'm sure there's stuff that's going to coming out on Thursday, so we can discuss that next week. But we're inching closer and closer to Halloween Horror Nights. So any final thoughts on those 2 scare zones? Do these hold up in comparison to the other 2 that you had already like announced? These excite you more or less, or not at all?
I think the other 2 excite me more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm in that
camp.
I
don't know. Scare zones are hard for me to judge, because generally for me, scare zones, I'd rather it be like a Rob Zombie scare zone.
Yeah.
It's something that's loud in your face.
Now you're talking, Seamus.
And I get why they're called scare zones. Like, you're supposed to be like, frightened by them, but they don't really affect me that way. So for me, it's more just, it needs to have good sight lines and good sound and being able to see things and appreciate what's going on and the characters that are in it. And unfortunately, when you have certain aspects like last year where Zodiac was so dark, it was hard to see anything that was going on. So how could I appreciate the character design if I can't see what they look like? So I'm hoping that if this Demon Queen one is in that area, they do better job of lighting it this year. So at least you can kind of focus better on what's going on and see the characters and appreciate the scare actors and their costuming and everything else. But
Now,
I mean, yeah, I don't think these ones excite me any more than the others do. The other two do. Maybe a little bit just because they're seemingly somewhat more unique than like Ren Fair and I forget the other one. But
the Swamp of the Undead.
Oh, swamps. That would explain how forgettable it might be to me. But so maybe a little bit more just because I think they sound a little more unique than the other two do. But how much more? Probably not that much more. So
now the big question: which one of these 4 zones is going to get ruined by chainsaws?
Oh, good question. Actually, I hope it's not Dream Queens, but
You want me to be honest?
they tend to stick them in that area. So
It's gonna be Demon Queens for sure.
yeah,
I think so too. Well,
probably.
Definitely.
I feel like they don't put.
leading
I feel like they
her
don't put
out.
chainsaws in Central Park because it's like too tight.
They won't put them in Central Park.
You can't have them in Torture Fair.
No, because that wouldn't make sense exactly.
Yeah, they're gonna stick them over where they usually do, and they're gonna run around there, and they're gonna be like they're gonna be Surreal's minions or something stupid like that. And
unless if we get a Megan like horde again this year, and the Megans have chainsaws.
Yeah, they haven't announced.
I'd rather that.
But
which I don't even know if they announced it last year. Like, did they announce? I don't even remember them announcing it.
Didn't they say something about there being like Megan something like keep your eye out for Megan?
Did when the event started, which was odd. I thought. I think it was like the first.
I think it was
week
after
because
I remember
it was after exactly.
Like team member preview, like people were freaking out because they're like, "Oh my god, there's Megans!" And we're like, "Wait, what?"
Oh,
like,
maybe,
yeah. Give the Megans the chainsaws. Give it to them.
Just don't do chainsaws, Hornets. You don't need chainsaws. You don't need them.
Or just
don't do them. I mean, all you need is the smoke machines and the music.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need chainsaws.
They'll never do away with that.
I know they won't, and I'm just speaking to deaf ears, but I can dream.
Right, if only. Final thoughts? Anything else before we get into any horror movies of the week and before we sign off for this week?
All I know is soon enough, we're probably going to find out when they do the full drop again, since we're only waiting on one more scare zone and one more house.
Yes,
one scare zone, one house. Going to have the event icons, because I feel like once they announced that last year is when they announced that Oddfellow was going to be connected with all of them too.
Yeah,
I think so. We shall.
I'd be curious if they even put a post out like expanding on that. I would hope so.
Right.
I hope they do, but I don't think they will.
No,
I don't think so. I want them to, but that means that because I want it, they probably won't give it to me. But so horror movies of the week. Did anybody watch anything this week? I've been, I think, too consumed with playing NCAA football.
And I don't think I've watched anything recently this week.
I've been playing more video games this past couple of weeks. I haven't had as much time to watch movies, but I am probably going to watch something this week. Obviously tomorrow night, but
yeah.
We rewatched something in preparation for Horror Nights. We rewatched Insidious: The Red Door.
We did.
That's a good point. I do want to watch Insidious. I do need to go back and revisit that movie.
We did rewatch that one. I liked it a lot more the second time through. It's been a little while since we saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we only saw it the first time in theaters.
We did. I think so too. His lair, though, the lipstick demon, is so cool. If they have it in the house, man, it's going to be
they have to.
Just top notch. I love it.
Yeah, they have to.
There were
the music,
pictures,
the record scratching
of the windows. So I think it will include it.
So cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps us up for this week. We'll be back next week to talk about any other future releases of announcements. I'm sure that we're going to get something before we talk next time. And when we talk next time, we might have a more clear vision of when our podathon is going to be kicking off and what we're going to discuss. That's coming up pretty quick.
Yes.
So we're going to have to start grinding out some episodes for you. At least this year we have announcements a lot further out. So I feel like the last couple of years when we do it, it's like a scramble to wait for like the hype list because we don't know what's on there yet completely 100%. So we can actually like get a little head start on some stuff. So we'll be putting information out. So be sure to follow all of our socials so you're aware of when that's happening. And we are very, very close. So until next time, this is Nick.
This is Seamus.
This is Jamie.
Happy haunts.
This place is cursed. Cursed. It's got a death curse.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.